We live. Let's go. We gotta believe episode 46 live right now on StreamYard and Periscope. Yada yada yada. Lot to talk about. Blake Snell dropped his video while he was on Twitch yesterday or today, whatever. With some, I know we've seen the tweets from Doolittle and we've heard comments from all, like retired players and whatnot. But this was the first, video spoken word on a player being like, fuck this. I'm not playing for any less money than I should. And I think most people are on his side. But I also think, there's always going to be a disconnect between there are grocery store workers out there doing $10 an hour, and you're complaining about playing baseball for like $1 million. That's always going to be a problem. And I think he overplayed his hand with the whole I'm risking my life. Like, I know it's more dangerous. I know you have to worry about your family, but nobody wants to hear about a pro athlete in their prime who is, they could get the Rona and like literally nothing would happen. So I think there's both sides of the spectrum here. Where do you fall?
No, I'm with you on that. It's always right in the middle with the pro athletes, and we do this covering them, right? And you're kind of like you see where they're coming from, and you also realize what it's like being in the cubes. And it's like at some point people are going to go back to work across the country. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is like a legitimate thing. I just have to say this entire situation is so fitting because the way the four major sports are handling this is so stereotypical for them. The NBA has their communication with their players. Everything's laid out. They have a plan to see everything seems to be going smoothly. They're working through things, but there seems to be a legitimate plan and everyone's on board. The NHL, I don't even know what the fuck the NHL is doing. Did it disband? Did they cancel the NHL? I have no idea. I haven't heard a thing about the NHL.
And then on top, and the NFL is just like, we're just going to do what we do. We don't fucking care.
The NFL is just like, nothing stops this train. Yeah. We are fucking going straight ahead. People wanted the NFL to cancel free agency, the draft, shut down trades. The NFL is the only thing that got me through the month of March. It's the only fucking thing that got me through. And then baseball is in a fucking full-blown civil war between the players and the owners about money. Now, granted, this is much different than like 94 and all that kind of shit, but it's the same fucking thing. All four leagues are exactly the way you would think they would be with this. And it is kind of funny to me how it's all broken exactly this way. The thing is, like, with the owners too, it's like the owners are just like, how the people who take the owner's side are the worst.
Well, if you're going to sit here and say, what are you talking about? You're a millionaire. How can you say that? Well, then you should take it one step further and say that about the billionaires. They should be taking the biggest brunt of, the brunt of the hit because they're not going out there and risking their. I go back and forth every time I say this. Yes, it's more hazardous, but realistically, it's not, right? For them. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're going to have to be away from your family. Are you telling me that professional athletes are now the gold standard for family men all of a sudden? These guys are really you're on the road half the year. Now you're going to be away for a few more months, and we're going to act like, if you're a veteran, you've got kids and all that shit, fine. But the rest of these guys, I feel like playing the hazard card, playing the family card, it's a little bit like, come on, dude. Now, the other side of the coin being like Mark Teixeira saying play for pennies and do it for America. It's like, well, come on. You have to operate in the real world where A, people work for money, and B, you can't set any bad precedent for the following year and the following year. And all of a sudden the owners point and say, well, you remember when you did it for less for this reason, why don't you do it for less for that reason? It's like, there's things at work here, right? The whole coronavirus thing, in general, I think the overall message is that, like, you, the guy at home, don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're not a doctor, so you don't know what's going on with the disease. You're not a lawyer or a union rep, so you don't know what's going on with work stoppages. There's no right answer. There's no 100% answer. So I just cannot see a scenario where if even a decent chunk of players believe what Blake Snell said, that they even come close to getting an agreement, right?
And that's the other side of it too. It's like I think Blake Snell is probably a portion of the players, but there's also probably a portion of players who are like, especially guys who are probably closer to his pay range, were like, I need to get fucking paid too. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm sure.
Look at like this. Let's take it to our level. We're not pro athletes. No one like idolizes us. It's not like Barstool being open is like saving the world. But you could make the argument we're still providing entertainment and podcasts, and we did the unboxing and Friday Night Pints. We're trying to help, right? But if they weren't paying me,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. Part of me would love to say, well, I'm just going to be sitting in my house anyway, so I might as well just give you the podcast and we'll figure out money later. But, if you told me to work for no money, I'd probably say, wait a second, we got to fucking have a deal here. So, before you throw rocks, just ask yourself if you would work for free. And yes, we're talking about more money, but these are people who live a different lifestyle, who own their own businesses, who have their own investments, who need the amount of money they're used to. So, more money, more problems is a real thing. I just, you're never going to be able to reconcile the middle America dude working for minimum wage who believes in America and the athlete who's like, we ain't playing for free. So there's never an easy answer. But I think baseball work stoppage issues are hard to get resolved normally, let alone with, this disease shit on top of it. So, and the clock's ticking. That's always the thing too, right? If there, you don't get it done by July or something, you can't play baseball through the winter. Like it's, eventually it becomes not possible. But how about this? Would you have the balls to do what Blake Snell did? Because I ain't doing that. I'm sitting back. I could agree with him 100%. I'm not trying to be the face of like, I don't care about America sort of shit.
No, I don't. I definitely wouldn't. I personally wouldn't. But I also, that's the beauty of, I think, Twitch and these streaming things is these guys are just alone in their thoughts. And I mean,
right.
Like if we just before you came on and Kyle's like, all right, you want to go on for a bit, and I'm like, if I'm just on, it's like Mike Francesa. You just start rambling by yourself, and you don't know what you're saying next, and there's nothing stopping you. And I think it does make a difference when you're at home, you're in the comfort, you're in your couch, and you're just shooting the shit. It's like you're talking to your buddies, right? And you don't realize there's a camera on you. There's a billion people on the internet who can clip every single thing you say. So I don't even know if he went into like even the way he kind of went into that. It kind of just like he just hit a thing and it just triggered his brain. He's like, and he just started just shooting from the hip.
His agent's at home like, shut the fuck up. But I think I would do the opposite. I've been saying this for about a week now. I would come out and say, I'm a hero. I will play for free. Because that's never going to fucking happen. The union will never let that happen. But you get all of the good PR of being the American hero. Now, granted, the rest of the union and the players might hate you for that. But hey, baby, you got to look out for number one. It's all about building your brand. And if all of a sudden Mike Trout is Captain America because he pledged $40 million to the cause, I mean, you're an icon. You're a hero.
Yes, and this is the thing, though. And first of all, Mark Teixeira, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up and everything.
I can't tell if it's like I just fucking hate Mark Teixeira, but I think I would yell about anybody saying that. But the fact that it's his Gomer Pyle ass out there, like, shut the fuck up. You fucking let your wife tell you where to play. You don't speak to this shit.
Yeah, Mark Teixeira would only be playing if his wife, if Mrs. Teixeira gave him the green light.
Exactly.
And that goddamn name, him and Eddie Pettit. I hated spelling those names, and I had to quadruple check to make sure I was.
I'm always fucking.
But this is the thing about baseball here. You cannot. I repeat, cannot. And this is not a dig towards the players because we're on the player sides, but the players and the owners, you need to work this out because if Major League Baseball does not play a season because they couldn't come to money terms of all things about this during a pandemic when millions upon millions upon millions of people have lost their job and are unemployed and have nothing else to do. And then the NBA comes back, the Korean Baseball League is here, soccer's back in Europe. If you are the league that doesn't do it after 94, just fucking cancel the league on the fucking spot. Because you're not coming back from that.
It's such bad PR from a sport that already has some pretty bad PR. And that's where I think ultimately, like, I think I would be more thinking about like rising tides lifts all ships. Like if the league, it's so short-sighted to be like, I'm not going to play for less money. If somebody like in PR and somebody in marketing can show me, like give me a presentation of some sort and explain to me what the benefits from being the league who said, let's help America? Does that help 2022, 23, 24? Could you make more money because, of the good publicity over the next 10 years if you sacrifice this 1 year? Then, I can get behind that. But if someone out there is telling me, listen, like all of this heroism, all of this like help America shit is propaganda and bullshit, and it all comes down to dollars and cents, I don't know. I mean, it's a bad look, but can you blame people? It's like, you'd like to think that everyone is generous and altruistic, and it's just not the reality of the world.
It's true. Kyle was saying before we went on too, Bob Kotza said back in 2002, he's like, it sounded like that there was like a chance that there was gonna be a work stoppage, and then 9/11 happened. And then obviously we kind of know what happened with how baseball kind of took the reins. Obviously the Piazza home run, the Yankees World Series, all the shit with them, everyone going to ground zero. And it's like that, I think, kind of just adjusted things. Like, well, we can't fuck this up again, right? And especially during that time. And this is obviously there's no, I think the labor piece is good right now in terms of like the long term, but this is basically, I mean, we've kind of said this is our new 9/11, right? This whole entire, and the fallout, which we don't even know what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. Right. You just can't fuck this up again. I just don't think you can do that again.
I am not envious of any commissioners, any lawyers, any players, negotiators. It's just like everywhere you look, there's a bad ending. So everybody's going to have to agree to take their own hit. And that's just not what happens in the world. Usually billionaires win, and I don't know, man. And of course, this all happens when the Mets have young players who want to, ride the momentum. Jeff McNeil needs to keep going. Pete Alonso needs to keep going. Mike Conforto needs to keep going. Jake DeGrom's in his prime, and we're losing a year here. It's fucking tough, man. It's the most Mets thing ever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the other, that's like Jacob DeGrom. We've seen the articles about how he's in his prime of his prime of his prime. It's not even like his arm has just been like sitting around. He obviously ramped up during spring training, was basically ready to go, and then it's just back down. And then if this year goes out, even if this year is played, but if this year goes off without being played, that's just, it's just how it works. Your body gets older, as we know, every single fucking morning. I'm still hurting from last night just from sleeping.
Yeah, give me a break. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's what's your gut say?
If it was any other sport, I'd say they would come to an agreement.
Right.
But because it's baseball, I really do feel like even our Barstool guys are starting. I can see they're starting to crack. All the baseball guys at Barstool, like Jared and White Sox Dave and all of them, are starting to be like, I don't know if this is going to happen now. And this is just the one or two people that are making statements publicly, right? This is Blake Snell. There's 100 Blake Snells behind the scene, especially the dudes that are making bank. That, like, if say a DeGrom or a Jacob DeGrom would never do this. We'll say Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's probably like, fuck this. I ain't risking my fucking life and limb for this franchise I haven't been a part of.
I mean, pitchers with Tommy John and injury, it's like, I can understand someone being like, I don't want to go play during Corona. I don't want to risk injury during a short season. I don't want to play for less money, and I don't want to set a bad precedent for the future. How can you argue against that? I mean, those are four extremely logical takes. And the other side of it is it's a little more like fluffy. It's a little more do it for America, do it for the people. It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, is that really? I know there are sports fans that are just lunatics, right? But is it really like saving America? Is like Marty Mush being happy that baseball's back, like the gold standard for heroism while people are dying and economies are collapsing? I get it. I know sports are important to us, but I'm not making any long-term decisions on my money, my health, or my future based on the idea that some people maybe on the internet might call me a hero. I don't know.
No, I'm with you on that. So unless like Adam Silver takes the fucking like reins from Rob Manfred, and it's like, I'll fucking fix your goddamn league, you asshole. Like I just don't think like Manfred versus like Manfred walks into a room with a bunch of players, Scott Boras, a couple other fucking super agents. There's no fucking way he's gonna like, the owners are going to slit his throat and be able to throw the next guy in there. So that's probably the biggest, like that's my biggest thing I'm worried about. And to be honest, Kevin, I'm gonna share a little secret with you. I'm fine with it not coming back. Did you see the tweet the other night?
Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So you've talked about it before. Someone asked the ESPN and Stats and Info did like a full World Series night with stats and whatever, and someone asked a question: how many innings did the Mets lead in the 2015 World Series? They led 24 of the innings. The Royals led 13 of the innings, and there was 16 innings where everything was tied. So all that together was with like 53 innings. The Mets led 45% of that goddamn World Series and lost in 5 fucking games.
It's insane. It's absolutely goddamn insane. They were either, I think it was like they were like tied or ahead, like 89% or some shit like that. It was to lose that series is criminal. To lose it in 5 is incomprehensible. It's impossible. It's like if you play that out that many times in a row, that team, we probably win in 5 like the vast majority of the time, and somehow we get our dicks kicked in.
Yeah, it was the Mets 75% of the time. The Mets were either leading or tied, and the Royals won 80% of the games. They won 4 out of 5. It's fucking. It just doesn't make sense until you say it's the Mets. So that's why there is a part of me. And granted, I want baseball back with everyone else. There is a part of me is like getting my dick, like my fucking heart ripped out through my ass. I don't need that anymore. I'm a fucking dude. I wake up every morning. I go on Google. And I just search NC Dinos. There's a little scoreboard, and the fucking Dinos win every single day. They match bombs, they hit walk-offs, and they don't fucking break my heart. Like it's like in Ocean's 11. Does he make you smile? No, but he doesn't make me cry. That's what the NC Dinos are. They don't make me cry, and I fucking love them for that.
That's where the bar is set for us. I mean, it's different if you're younger, I guess. You haven't gone through the heartache. Maybe, like I remember my baseball prime fanhood was like 06, 07, where I would watch like 162 games, and I was so excited. And if I was that age right now, maybe I'd be devastated. But I'm a good veteran, and I don't need any more hardships in my life. So I'm not in any rush. I don't want to go back to work. I don't necessarily need the Mets back. I want to see the economy come back, but I am not. I'm not risking anything.
That's exactly it, and that's why the end. And this would all be. It's the 3 10-team divisions, right? And everyone's going to be together, and then it'll be home ballparks and home ballparks as of now. But I mean, like if California doesn't open, you either have to move those teams, or we're going to have to do the whole Florida Arizona thing. So at some point, I don't really. But I'm fine with as long as it's not the 7-inning bullshit with the robotic umps. I could live with this brand of baseball, even if it's an 80-game season.
I was going to say, aren't we going to be dangerously close to like a fucking 65-game season at this point?
Yeah. Now, would you be all right with that? Because I think we had the number, and I think I originally said 81. I need at least half the season.
Yeah.
65 does get to like the point where it's like, the old Mets would be fine.
It's just going to be chaos because it's like there are teams who have a hot 65 games who finish last in the division, Yep. If you take a 65-game sample of Mets seasons here and there, they're either a World Series team or a last-place team based on how hot and cold they can get. So,
Mickey Callaway would be a Hall of Fame manager, right? Because it was June that was our undoing every year. That's fucking basically 65 is April and May.
Right. So, I mean, we can do it, but just I don't think that's a fair indicator of like who the best team was that year, or who makes the playoffs or something like that. Mm-hmm. I think as the games get less, you almost have to increase the number of postseason teams because it's such a sprint to the finish line that it's like, how can we weed out, the 5th to the 6th, the 6th to the 7th, when we really didn't get a full picture of who's the best. So a sport that usually prides itself on grind and consistency and longevity turning into a sprint it's interesting. But I've been saying all along, I think that any form of baseball that they're going to come up with this year is going to be a big fat asterisk. And again, do you want to risk everything and health and all that shit for a season that a lot of people are probably going to say, well, I don't know, that doesn't count.
Yeah, and this is the other thing I don't get with these negotiations. And I think that's exactly what this is, a negotiation. $0 is the other alternative for all the sides here, right? So it's like $0 is good for nobody on any of the sides, no matter what. And I'm sure obviously the owners are billionaires, other than our fucking broke ass bitch boy owners. And then the players, I imagine there is a war chest where it's like a strike fund fund or whatever work stoppage fund that the guys who make less money get taken care of, because that's always seems to be, those are the guys who cross the picket line. They're the ones who turn strikes or lockouts into whatever, and that's that's when shit gets ugly. I do feel like at some point someone's gonna be like $0 and be known as the one major league franchise that didn't come back, or a lot less money for everybody, but hey, we're not hated down the, we're not going to just be, because I'll tell you what, I don't know. Again, I would hate to be the person in those board meetings. I would have a little resentment in my heart towards baseball if everyone else comes back and they're the only sport that didn't. Because it's
if other leagues followed suit, you're fine. But because they're in season, they have to make their decision now. And then if football comes back and basketball comes back and hockey comes back and you're the odd man out, you look like a fucking asshole. So the timing is brutal for baseball.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And baseball always seems to be stuck in a pickle. They're always in a pickle. Fucking Benny the Jet was always in a pickle. You want to say he's a great base runner? No, he was fast as shit, but he was always in a goddamn pickle. And yeah, I'd have some like I was bummed in '94. I'd be bummed at them now, and especially because I just other sports that have more contact and guys are closer together would be coming for this, and it's like it just seems kind of fucked up. Basketball, football, soccer, all that kind of shit. These guys are colliding, where baseball is kind of an individual sport where you're at least a little more distant.
Should we get into our bracket of misery?
Yeah, let's get into the bracket of misery. Actually,
it's brought to you by Coors Light. Coors Light is the official sponsor of We Gotta Believe. It's our personal sponsors that help us get through the Mets season and this Mets misery as we break down all of the most heart-aching moments in the history of the Mets franchise. Coors Light, the Blue Mountains. It's the only way to get through life as a Mets fan. I got my This Life Chose Me shirt on, and that's the Coors Light life right there too. It chose me, and we support it proudly, and they support us. So when the summer rolls around, whether you're inside or outside, whether you're at the ball game or not, you can always crack open a Coors Light with your friends and your family. You can drink them over Zoom. You can watch the Dinos. You can play, MLB The Show. You can watch classic games. You can watch Steve Gelb's show, which has been great. Follow along with Keith and Ron on Twitter and all that. And Coors Light just makes it that much better. So make sure you get some Coors Light delivered to your house, non-contact delivery. You don't have to go out and get it. It just arrives on your doorstep. You can drink it while you watch a game. You can drink it while you watch TV. Kick back, relax, and take the edge off during quarantine with the Coors Light. Pull up the brackets. Let's go. Where are we at? We left off on a big one, right?
Yep. Jeff Wilpon firing a pregnant employee for having a baby out of wedlock versus Mickey and Vargas versus Tim Healy.
Now, the Mickey Vargas Tim Healy fight, challenging reporters to a fight. Jason Vargas, the fucking time traveler. Mickey Callaway, still our manager. That was a true LOL Mets moment where, that was one of those times where I was like, this is what non-Mets fans don't get. It's not just losing. It's stories like this where it's like, what the fuck are we doing? But Jeff Wilpon firing that woman for having a baby out of wedlock is forever our greatest missed opportunity, except for right now with the refunds on the tickets, which you guys are not demanding enough of. But we had our out. We had it. It was just a little too early. The Me Too era wasn't quite here. And then Ray Rice's story came along and knocked it off the back page. But Jeff Wilpon basically harassing and then firing a woman because she had a baby out of wedlock. It's the most inappropriate work scenario I've ever heard. And I don't know how that asshole survived it. We should have had him fucking – he should have had to sell the team like Donald Sterling did, and we would have got the fuck out of there. So for me, this is an easy one, and that's a 7 seed that can make a lot of noise if you ask me.
Yes, I am 100% with you. Was it like the Ray Rice thing? Was it like the Wilpon was on a Friday and Ray Rice happened on like a Saturday or Sunday, and then Monday was the news?
It was like boom, boom, and there was no time for the news cycle. And then the video came out, and there was really nothing else that anybody was talking about. And I was like, I remember blogging it, like trying to keep it on top of the page, and it was just white noise, like nobody cares. And it just slipped through our cracks. I believe she signed like a NDA, like she got like a package, so she's on her way and probably doesn't want any of this drama. And I certainly can't blame her. But goddamn, it would have been nice to have her speak out and be like, "Fuck these people."
It's so Mets misery. It really is. It's so fucked. If what's his name, Armando Galarraga or whatever wants to get his perfect game back, can't we like kind of just right all the wrongs of the past and like basically like rake Jeff Wilpon across the coals? Because I mean,
right now is the time to like air your grievances and just throw up Hail Marys. Be like, can we do this? Can we do that? What's going on in pandemic? What's going on in quarantine? You want to just change everything? So, I mean, I've always felt a little scummy, like trying to use this to my benefit. But I'd love to kick this back up there. I mean, like, let's fucking go.
It does make you feel scummy, but then it's like you realize that it's Jeff Wilpon is the scum that you'd be trying to take down. So it's like two negatives make a positive, two scums make like a positive, and then it's like, all right, so this is a good thing in the end. So, I mean, it had. And so the other thing is Mickey and Vargas versus Tim Healy was actually kind of like funny because it was so like the way it all starts where he's like, see you tomorrow, Mickey is such an innocent line, but it's such a pressure cooker in New York. Mickey snaps. Jason Vargas. So what will you remember Jason Vargas? Like if I say the name Jason Vargas in 5 years, what do you think will be the first three things that pop in your head? In what order?
Time traveler?
Yes, me too. Number one is time traveler. 100%.
Time traveler, like, get the fuck off my team. Wait, no, I was wrong. You're like our most important pitcher. That's the order. Yeah. Like I don't think
this is more
unfair to a player than him because I was railing against him, and then he was like all we had for a time.
Asen Vargas was a legitimate thing, and it was the fact he had the greasy hair. He looked like he fucking, he looked like a Punch-Out character. He's like fucking Glass Joe. He was down on his luck. And the fact that he became our ace was kind of magical. The fact we were able to trade him, but then we ended up trading him for Bradley fucking Wilpon's fucking buddy. It all just is pure Mets in a circle. It's a time is a flat circle moment. But this, I don't know. Like, yeah, I think Time Traveler is number one. That picture is unfucking believable. Two is Asen Vargas because he was legitimately terrible. And then he became legitimately fucking awesome for a brief time there. And it was during the chaos of that season, which Jason Vargas' season was basically the Mets in a nutshell, right? Yeah. And it ends with a Wilpon fucking thing, which kind of wraps it up. But this is definitely like, this goes in like this is on the back of the baseball card for Jason Vargas as a Met. This is definitely number three, though, the whole fight. And the fact it's him having his manager's back is just hilarious. And the fact Tim Healy was still there and was like, just had to deal with it for the rest of the season. Right. I almost wanted Mickey to come back just to have that weird dynamic there.
Well, right. It's like Mickey's gone, Vargas is gone, and like the drama's gone. But the fact that those are the two guys who for that season were like the ones fighting the media is pretty funny. But to me, I think this is an easy 7 seed. Jeff Wilpon. Yeah.
We've talked about live seeds in terms of because the seeding, I think there's just so many. I think you can go a million different ways. It's like as live a 7 seed as you can get. This could have been like a top 3 seed. It is kind of funny though, kind of wrapping back owners and wedlock and stuff like that. We lost our potential owners that are getting married in a few months or years, whenever the fuck this thing ends. A-Rod and J-Lo officially gone. It was right after we recorded last week's episode, a couple hours later. How are you feeling about this? I feel like we're on the same page with this one. How do you feel about the whole J-Lo A-Rod thing?
I've always said basically anything other than the Wilpons I will take. But I did not, the excitement level compared to Steve Cohen is not even comparable to J-Lo and A-Rod. I mean, it's anybody else would be better, but I don't think they were like going to be the true answer the way that Cohen would be. So I'm okay. It's whatever.
I'm 100% with you. You know what I compare it to? It's almost like when they hired and then fired Beltran. It was like, I was fine with it. It would have been the A-Rod jokes would have been funny and cool. And we would have been like the sexy team for a bit. And I'm sure they would have done some cool stuff. Jenny from the Block going from the Bronx to Queens would have been interesting. Mm-hmm. But those like multiple ownership groups very seldom work out. I know like the Dodgers have that, but this Rothbaum guy who wasn't even on the fucking billionaires list, which I don't even know exists, but you got to be on the billionaires list if you're going to excite me with Uncle Stevie as like other options.
Bezos is pushing trillion. Okay. We need at least billions. We need a billionaire boys club member. I ain't doing no broke boy shit anymore. Otherwise I might as well just stay with the fucking Wilpons.
Yeah, and I mean Bezos is doing that with like a fucking divorce on the record, and he's just going back into the trillion.
Net worth and made it back in like 35 seconds. It's fucking insane.
Because he probably fucking unveiled the coronavirus on the earth. He's like, all right, now you motherfuckers gotta buy from me. Shout out to Jeff Bezos. I still don't understand how he just didn't see, like, if I buy the Mets, everyone in Long Island City will love me, and I could put HQ 2, 3, 4, and 5 there, and fucking like just basically like feed the people who live in those neighborhoods that would lose their jobs to like my employees as like food, and everyone like, yep, you own the Mets, we love you. So I don't get that at all. But yeah, I'm with you about the whole A-Rod thing. Whatever. And like your brother said it best, Super Producer BC. There would have been a divorce. The Mets would have been like the child that was ripped apart in the divorce, and we would have been back to where we are now down the road. So I'm fine with it. So Wilpon definitely advances to the next round. Next up,
bracket, the 215. We got Cespedes trampled by a wild boar versus Henry Mejia's three count them 3 PED suspensions.
Hi, 3, you're at it.
I loved every tweet update about him getting suspended. Like every time it just popped up, and they were pretty, they were relatively quick. I loved it every fucking time. Now I remember him and who was the other dude? Montero. Remember him? He was supposed to be
Rafael Montero.
Right. We were so gassed about those guys, as well as the DeGrom, Harvey, Syndergaard, Matt's clique, and they obviously did not work out. For a minute there, I really respect just being like, well, I'm not good if I don't do steroids, so I'm just gonna keep doing them. Like, fuck it. I gotta get the bag now. I'm not gonna be a Hall of Famer. I don't have to worry about my legacy. Let me just get as much money as I can. I'll be blackballed, and I can go back to the Dominican. I got no problem with that.
No problem with that. The joke is like, I wish I loved anything as much as Henry Mejia loved doing steroids. Like, it's true. And yeah, we've all been there in life, whether it's at work, in school with a test or a class. When you're just in over your head, this guy is facing major league hitters and is like, I got nothing without these fucking andro going through my system, fucking injecting my eyeballs with shit. You got to do what you got to do to make that bag, and then you worry about it down the road, about what it does to your body. Like, at the end of the day, like, people always say, like, it's their decisions, their bodies, their choices. Like, I fucking love, and it was hilarious. He was just as like unimportant enough for it not to really hurt. Like, he was a potential closer. His fucking dances off the mound were great. I love that. I also hated spelling his name. I could never get his name right.
I never got it right. Never know. Between Jerry's Familia and Henry Mejia, yes. Like, I don't fucking whatever. This guy or that guy. I can't keep up with either of these idiots. Now, the Cespedes thing, there's a few memories in my sports fandom, like my entire life. I will never forget being on the rundown and getting the update and like falling to my knees and being like, how is this possible? Because the Cespedes era, if you can really call it that, but it kind of is a very important one for the Mets, because it's like, for the first time ever, they made the right move. And it could have worked out, and it just did not. And it did so in like the most peculiar, unique, embarrassing, and rare way that I personally still don't even believe. I think we're all going to one day look back and be like, we believed that he was like running away from a wild pig and stepped in a hole. I am fully on board with the conspiracy that this was a cartel-related fucking injury from smuggling out of Cuba. I think that makes a lot more sense than I had wild boars trapped on my golf course and I let them out and I ran away and I broke my ankle. I don't know what to believe. All I know is that it's so proper and so fitting that the one time we got the big bat and the one time we opened up the wallet, it just completely fell apart in a catastrophic manner.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, I think even when they signed the contract, I'm sure if we go back to the blogs you wrote or I wrote or the tweets, it's like, this is probably going to end poorly. We heard the stuff about, ripping cigs and playing 72 holes of golf and just not giving a fuck. So it was almost like a Mad Libs. Like, how is Yo Cespedes' like Mets? What's going to be his Mets moment that completely just ends his career and fucks us? And it's like noun, steps in a noun. And it's like a wild boar makes him steps in a hole. He breaks both his ankles, whether that's obviously the story or not or true. The fact that it came out at first that he broke both ankles. So you're like trying to like, did he fall off a horse? And then it was a non-horse injury.
Non-horse. What the fuck?
So many layers. And like, we're all like trying to like play this out in our mind. And it's so Mets. He fractures both ankles. And the thing that gets forgotten about now that I will never forget is like, since we're covering the Mets, I remember I was talking to my wife. I'm like, listen, there's a Mets press conference today at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whenever it was. I was like, I have to make sure I'm around because I don't know what the fuck. No one knew what it was about. And everyone thought it was going to be Mickey getting fired. And in the end, they tell us Yo Cespedes, who, I mean, I forgot was on the team, even though it was like the highest paid player on our team, broke his ankle twice, which again, we thought it ended up being 2 fractures in the same ankle. And they're like, oh yeah, Mickey is like, you know, this is a vote of support. He's our guy the rest of the year. And Mets Twitter has had its moments. This might have been the most explosive one I ever heard because it was like we had to deal with Yo being out for the year, the whole non-horse, double that injury. Your face on the rundown said it all. Plus, Mickey was going to be around the rest of the season, who had driven us all fucking bananas. It was one of the more. It was LOL Mets, but it was also Mets misery. This is one of those moments where they were definitely intertwined.
Right, and I mean, you look at Cespedes' career. He played in 2016. He played 132 games for the Mets. And then since then, 81 games, 38 games, nothing since then. It's just like, I mean, it's tragic, man. It's fucking tragic when you look at that 15 run. It's just now, I must say, as much as I have railed against the universal DH, I will be the first to admit that plopping Yo Cespedes in that fucking DH hole looks pretty goddamn sexy to me right now if he's got anything left in the tank and if they play it all. So as much as I have been against it and I still will always stand by that, I'll gladly take the benefits as well.
Yes, 100%. Yo playing the field was going to be a nightmare. If that
that inside the park home run of the World Series, it was just like, God damn it, dude, come on.
And now he looks like an RBI baseball player. Like he is a thick boy. I thought Bartolo Colon, those are Bartolo Colon highlights at first when I saw him swinging the bat. Right. And I mean, I don't know what he's like on quarantine. I mean, he has millions of reasons to like get himself into shape. I know how I'm doing during quarantine, and I ain't getting in better shape right now.
Dude,
so.
Could you imagine if you just got the phone call from Portnoy and you were like, yo, dude, new rules. You only have to do half your job. Oh, Yo, Kev, you only got to do KFC radio. Forget about the radio. Forget about the rundown. You don't have to do the other podcasts. We'll still pay you the same amount of money. I would go everywhere.
But if you do that other stuff and you do basically like just as good as you would have done, you're going to get a shitload of money too.
Right. Right. 100%, man. So obviously we're both agreeing the 2 seeded here.
Big time, yo. That's a fair seed too. I mean but I mean.
Yo, Clem, 2-7 in the second round. Wilpon pregnant employee and Cespedes trampled by a boar. That's a very live second round game.
Very live. Very live. That might be the.
We'll wrap it up here because both of us have stuff to do at 1, and we finished off that bracket. So we'll move down to the North bracket next episode, and we'll by then. I don't know how long. What's the time frame for these like negotiations? Do we have like a drop dead date?
So I mean they're planning to have it done by July 4th would be the but I imagine it has to be. In terms of like when they have to have everything like signed or whatever. Yeah. I don't. Kyle, do you know what the
you have to
drop dead is for that?
You got to do spring training, pitchers and catchers. You need like a couple months. So if it's talking about July. They got a deadline that my point being that who knows, by the next time we do this next week, we'll have an answer. We won't have an answer. I'm sure there'll be more light on the situation. So we'll keep up with it while we also run through the worst moments in Mets history. And as always, you got to believe.
Got to believe.